10 seconds, 5 seconds. Start. I am grateful to the organizers of the seminar for inviting me to participate in the debate on public support for administration of justice. It is common knowledge and therefore needless for me to stress the point that social support is essential for effective implementation of any law that is sought to be enforced in any society. In common parlance, law is that which is enacted by the legislature. It may be admitted in this connection that general acceptance of certain guidelines for social behavior would lead to effective functioning of the institutions of law. At the dawn of civilization, when people began to organize themselves into social groups, the need for preservation of their identity was felt. The concept of self-preservation gave rise to adoption of certain accepted guidelines for a social behavior. Subsequently, religion played an integral role in human activity in all parts of the world. Indeed, it would not be wrong to say that religious teachings formed a substantive laws in early stages of civilization. However, in the course of time, social groups of communities took a secular approach to lawmaking. They neglected the functions and responsibilities of the government to lesser and lesser groups and in some cases to individuals. Therefore, ultimately, this became the prerogative of the body of people chosen to manage the affairs of a state. As a field of human activity expanded, there was need to regulate the actions of individuals against one another as well as in the interest of the community. At the same time, the freedom of expression of the individuals and communities must be respected. When we think of democracy and the functioning of democratic institutions, the individual must be allowed to have full freedom in all respects for his growth. At the same time, it is most important to realize that freedom of individuals should not be allowed to create conditions of anarchy in the society. So, there is a need to impose reasonable restrictions on the human behavior with the help of the laws of the state. At the same time, the discontent, if any, against the policies of the government should not be left unnoticed by the state. Honestly speaking, genuine criticism should never be curbed. The society must be trained in such a way as to accept the laws that are enacted for common good of the society at large, even at the cost of some inconvenience to certain individuals sometimes. With the evolution of societies into nations and the enormous growth of population, it is natural that the laws also grow in number. While capital punishment has been abolished in a majority of the countries, the public opinion in some others is still in favor of retaining it. The prohibition law and the anti dowry laws are the clear examples of the need for social sanction for the survival of any social law. Therefore, it must be admitted that no law, especially a social law, can be enforced unless and until there is public support. There are many laws remaining on the statute book as mere laws for want of public support. Many more instances can be cited to prove the point. The laws do not have independent existence. They are good only to extent society sanctions and support them. In ancient India, the village as the whole took upon itself the responsibility of compensating the victims of lawlessness and punish the culprits. The village panchayats even now settle disputes without the help of any law books. It was widely recognized and respected by the parties to the dispute in those days. The criteria for such decisions are custom, convention, and equity. Very often, the panchayats hold sessions in temples or other sanctified places to derive authority and maintain impartiality in their proceedings. As a matter of fact, among the tribal people in several parts of the country, even today, there are special rules made by the state prohibiting interference with the decisions of the tribal councils taken in accordance with their customary laws. However, these rules make a distinction between the type of cases to be dealt with by the statutory organizations of law enforcement and those to be decided by the tribal councils. All such decisions are unquestionably accepted by the community. Involvement of the people in the enforcement of law will go a long way to achieve the desired effect. In fact, the Criminal Procedure Code makes it obligatory on the part of the citizens to assist the process of law of enforcement in a constructive manner. However, it is rather difficult to say positively that it is being practiced. In this connection, it is necessary that the police force in India remember that they are members of the public with the only difference that they are employed to give full attention to duties which are normally incumbent on every citizen to perform. The police will be successful only when they get the willingness cooperation of the communities in all actions. In respect of the police commission presented to the government recently, it was said that in spite of high-handedness and questionable methods indulged in some policemen, the majority of public continue to extend its support to the police. It was also felt that the prevention of crime, the protection of life and the property, and the preservation of public order must be the duties of the public themselves, and the police force organized for a purpose must be help citizens in performing their duties. The Indian independence movement and the non cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi illustrate the failure of brute force in law enforcement. Unless they reflect the prevailing needs of the society, the police will be subjected to stresses and strains as is happening now. The police should have close liaison with the public at all levels with a view to doing the greatest good to the largest number. However, I would like to caution that taking public support for granted would be a costly mistake, but the number of the societies should be motivated to assume greater responsibility for preventing crimes. In Western countries, there are anti crime clubs for a purpose. In India, too, it is in the interest of the police to go shopping for public cooperation. Stop.